Hey guys, welcome back to a 5-minute review. This time we're reviewing Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, produced by Ninja Theory. This game is easily one of the best games that I have played in a very long time, hands down one of my favorite games of 2017. So without keeping you waiting anymore, let's get into the review. The game starts off from the very beginning playing out like a visual novel. Very dark, very compelling, intense at times, and very enveloping. It definitely brings you into the role of Senua, your main character. Senua is a Celtic warrior who's traveled the lands of the Northmen on her journey to Helheim, the land of the dead. The story itself is built around historical fiction and non-fiction, mythology, and a very heavy focus on the side of psychosis. The game itself is really focused on the psychosis side of things and understanding how somebody with a psychotic diagnosis processes the world and handles everything. The developers took a lot of time to really understand this and really focus on this and partnered with other doctors and those in the mental care industry to understand how somebody actually thinks. And it's reflected in the game. One of the first features you notice right out of the gate with this is the presence of voices. As you play through the game, Senua is constantly bombarded by voices in her own head. Sometimes the voices are telling her to give up, other times the voices are telling her to go on. As a game with a very direct focus on following this character's journey, the voice work in the game is absolutely superb. There are times listening to the characters where you truly feel like you've made this connection with them. Along with the voicing, the game is visually stunning. From the moment you load in, it feels like a movie. It feels like a cinematic playing through. As you play the game, it still keeps that same cinematic feel. There's never really a time where it feels disconnected and you're watching a video and then jumping back into a completely different look with the gameplay. It's all very seamless, and it's done in such a stunning fashion that it really helps to create continuity through the entire game. Each area really presents itself in its own unique fashion. And not to give away too many spoilers, but the very first section of the game, right when you load in, you're traveling down a river, floating in a boat, through a dense fog, and as the fog clears up, you start to see things. You see broken down pieces of wood, you see rocks, and cliff sides, and bodies, and it's almost like that pirate movie feel where you're pulling into a spot where obviously a lot of death has occurred, and it's a warning for others to stay out. Each area you go into presents itself in a similar fashion. You become overwhelmed with the beauty of the area, and at the same time, start questioning everything in the area. Where are you going to go? What's your objective in this area? What could you possibly run into? The game itself is focused on the journey, not so much the combat, not so much anything else. The combat itself is a really unique feature because it's done in a way where you don't have anything on screen. There are no radars, no maps. There are no actual notations or anything on screen when combat begins. Enemies spawn out of thin air. Again, these are the embodiment of evil that Senua is producing in her own head. The game is built in such a way that each battle adds on the difficulty. The further you get into the game, the more difficult the battles become, the more in-depth they become, and the stronger the enemies become. There are no levels, there are no power advantages, there's nothing like a traditional game. It's simply the progression of the story and advancing your character through as she builds up her own strength. Your only guide during battles is the voice in your head telling you when there's somebody nearby. Typically it's a command of, watch out behind you, look out. And at that point you have to respond and move to either stay out of the way of an attack coming in or to block and defend an incoming attack and then retaliate. And as straightforward as the game is, there are some side things that you can do. Throughout the game there are lore stones around. They look like monuments that light up with a ring around them, and as you activate them you get bits of story that really adds on to the character itself as well as her upbringing and what she's been taught. It's a way to fill in a gap that you don't normally get in this kind of game because it is so linear. Now, as somebody who likes really in-depth games, this is one of those games that from start to finish had me hooked. As an independently produced game and something that I look at as the spiritual successor to Heavenly Sword, which is how it was promoted for a lot of people, this game goes leaps and bounds beyond what I was expecting. and truly gives you profoundly rewarding moments from start to finish as you complete different parts of the story. So overall, I would say that Hellblade is absolutely one of those games that you definitely should pick up. For $30, as an independently produced game, this is a must-own. This is a must-play. That's all for this review. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.